Well, hello everybody. Hope you're doing well during this different time. I saw, as we're all seeing on Facebook right now, and we're seeing online, we're seeing a lot of great people share their stuff. We've got a lot of kids at home, and so I thought I'd join in and read one of my books, Kevin and the Seven Lions. This book is about Kevin, and I hope that for those kids stuck at home, or for those parents that are stuck at home, to be able to hear or see this book. This is a time it encourages kids to write and to use their imagination and to write what they're thinking about. So, thank you for coming to spend a little bit of time this afternoon with me, and I hope you enjoy the book. There'll be a link later to get the book if you'd like to pick it up. So, anyway, here it is, Kevin and the Seven Lions. I hope I'm holding this book up so you'll be able to see it. I'll show the pictures like I used to tell my first graders. Kevin was being chased by dinosaurs. He was in a hurry. His heart pounded. It hurt inside his chest. He felt the dinosaur's breath on his neck. Kevin, I need your attention, said Mrs. Calvin. Kevin! Mrs. Calvin, let's get it right. Spoke louder. Let me learn how to do the video. Right there. He looked around, and he didn't see any dinosaurs. He only saw his class. Kevin went to Holly Hills Elementary School, and he was in the third grade. Mrs. Calvin was his teacher. Kevin, thank you for giving me your attention. How many baseballs does the team have? If three boys bring three, said Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin was sad not to be chased by dinosaurs. Math practice isn't as exciting. His heart raced, but it just wasn't the same. Kevin started his work and he tried not to daydream the rest of the day. I'm still learning how to get that up there. I like this picture because it still has a picture. You can still see the dinosaur tail that right there as he comes back to class. The submarine was quiet. The lights from the ceiling were the only source of light. Kevin looked out the window. He squinted. He saw the first tentacle, then the second, and then another. And they were huge. They were getting closer. Then a gigantic eye filled the window. I love that gigantic eye right there. Oh, I see more people joining us. I'm still learning how to be able to show you the book while working the camera. Kevin, I need you to finish your writing. Thank you. Kevin began writing about what he did over the weekend. He wished he had been in an actual submarine. Writing about cutting the grass didn't hold the same interest. Kevin liked third grade, but where he went in his head was far better. Kevin exhausted Mrs. Calvin from time to time, but she did her best to keep him focused. And I hope your students have a Mrs. Calvin in their life as well. Kevin put his pencil down. He put his hands in front of him, and he looked at the wall. His spaceship came out of light speed, and the sandy red planet floated in front of him. Three fighters came into view from the left side. They did not seem to be friendly. They looked like three flying bats. Red lights flashed all around him. Sirens blared throughout the ship. Kevin, get back to work, said Mrs. Calvin from her desk where she was reading with other students. Kevin felt embarrassed. And the spaceship was nowhere to be found. Disappointed, he picked up his pencil and got back to work. He was beginning to wish he didn't daydream so much. There he is, a little embarrassed. Have you ever been embarrassed in class when your teacher calls you out? Mrs. Calvin noticed his embarrassment, and a thought popped into her head. Kevin, I want to know what you are thinking about when you daydream, she asked him later in the day. Okay. Kevin wanted this conversation to end. Mrs. Calvin would never want to know about spaceships and dinosaurs. I want you to start writing down what you see when you daydream. Okay. This was weird. Promise me you will try this. I'm giving you a clean notebook to just write down what you daydream. What am I supposed to write in this? Take it home. Write down what you daydreamed during class. Write down the whole daydream. I want to see what happened. And I love this picture. She hands him his book. It's got his name on it. I don't know if I can get that in the camera. But then in behind Mrs. Calvin is a picture of the eye from the submarine. The giant squid was following him right there. So Kevin's still daydreaming just a little bit. Kevin wasn't sure what to think. Was this a trick? Was he going to be graded on this? Is it going to be shown to his parents? When Kevin got home, he threw his backpack into the corner of his room. He never thought about the notebook. The next day, Kevin came to school. The notebook was still in his backpack. He found it when he pulled out his class binder. He quietly put the notebook in his desk, and Tuesday began normally. There's Kevin putting the book in his backpack. The crowd held its breath. The lion stood on his hind legs, its front paws swatted at the whip, and it roared loudly. Kevin told the lion to sit on the stool. The lion jumped up on the stool, sat, and then stared at Kevin. He felt a jolt of accomplishment shoot through his body. As he turned to the crowd, he went to bow. Kevin, I need your attention. Have you ever had a teacher talk to you like that before, saying they need your attention? I like this picture. He came back to the real world. Mrs. Calvin looked at Kevin and realized that Kevin should write down his daydream at that moment. Kevin, take 3 minutes and write. Write what? Kevin? Mrs. Calvin shot him a look. He got out his notebook. He took 3 minutes to write down about being a lion tamer that had 7 lions in a show. After 3 minutes was up, he closed his book and went back to sorting simple machines for his science book. I like this book because it shows when you're writing, your whole imagination can come right there on the paper and then come on back up. That bus ride home was different. He didn't speak to anyone. He was busy being a lion tamer. 7 lions surrounded him inside a black metal cage. Flashbulbs went off behind the lions as the crowd took pictures of the magnificent Kevin and his lions. His friends had to remind him to get off the bus to go home. When he got home, he walked right past his mom and his little brother, who was playing video games. His mom was worried. Kevin always stopped and played video games with Michael. How was your day? She asked. Kevin responded, it was fine, and continued to his room. There's Kevin getting off the bus. His friends reminding him to have to get off the bus. Here's the picture for this one. Kevin opened the door to his room and sat down at his desk. He opened his backpack and pulled out the notebook that Mrs. Calvin gave him. Kevin sharpened his pencil. He began writing. 6 lions walked into the center ring cage. He continued writing until his mom came to his door to call him down to dinner. Kevin was still at his desk writing. His mom was a little confused about this behavior. No video games, no TV. What was going on with Kevin? At dinner, his dad asked him how his day was. Fine, Kevin responded. He's writing, and all those lines are sitting there behind him in his imagination. After dinner, Kevin went back upstairs and continued writing about Kevin the Magnificent and the 7 lions. An hour later, his mom and dad stood at Kevin's door and stared at what they saw. Kevin was sitting still at his desk writing. They wondered, was he in trouble? Does he have a lot of extra homework? Was he sick? There he is. Kevin, what are you doing? His dad asked. Kevin put down his pencil. I'm writing. Is it your homework? In a way, Mrs. Calvin asked me to write down my daydream. She wants me to read about where I go when I stop paying attention. That's very interesting, said Kevin's dad. Can I hear about your daydream? Okay. Kevin was nervous. Was he going to be in trouble? Kevin started reading about Kevin the Magnificent and the 7 lions. Kevin the Magnificent walked into the center ring cage. The crowd clapped loudly. He took a deep bow and then he snapped his whip in the air. The crowd clapped louder. Kevin kept reading. His parents listened quietly. I'm still learning how to show the video. So there's Kevin with his parents reading his journal, and you can see Kevin's name there on front of his journal. 6 lions walked into the center ring cage. Kevin the Magnificent held up his whip and shouted a command. All the lions sat down. He then shouted another command, and all 6 lions stood up on their hind legs. The crowd cheered loudly, and then he cracked his whip, and all the lions sat back down. Kevin the Magnificent knew the show was going great. Then Leo the lion entered the ring. Leo was a very big lion. He was scary big. All the other lions sat quietly when Leo entered the ring. Leo let out a loud roar. It hurt Kevin's ears. Leo lunged at Kevin. The audience gasped. Kevin took several steps backwards. He held his whip high. Kevin shouted a command and cracked the whip. Leo took a step back and roared even louder than before. One more time, Kevin shouted a command and cracked his whip. Leo took another step back and then jumped up on a stool and sat down. The audience cheered. Kevin shouted another command and cracked his whip. And all 7 lions stood up on their hind legs. The audience stood up on their feet, cheering loudly. Kevin gave one last command, and all the lions walked out in a line out of the center ring. The audience cheered loudly. Kevin took a big bow, and then he followed his lions out of the ring. There's Kevin with all of his lions. Kevin put down the story. He had finished it. Kevin, that was a great story. The lions were great, especially the big scary one at the end. Have you written other stories? No. Kevin was confused. He spent a lot of time being in trouble for the things he did. This was different. Well, if you ever write another story, I would love to read it. Maybe you can dream about your next story tonight when you sleep. You should keep that notebook next to your bed. And if you have a dream, write it down. Kevin actually liked this idea. He got ready for bed. As he climbed into bed, he shut the notebook and placed a pencil on top of it. He stared at the notebook, thinking about the next story he would write in it. He closed his eyes. He was so happy that his mom and dad liked his story about Kevin the Magnificent and the 7 lions. That was a great feeling. What else would his mom and dad like to read about? There's him going to bed, talking to his mom. He's got his journal right there. Kevin walked to his fighter jet. He climbed in, started up the engines. He then flew off into the bright blue sky. Kevin then went to sleep. And he dreamed. So his dream was of being a fighter pilot. He got up the next morning and he began to write. Here he is at his desk writing. That's the end of our story. Thank you guys for spending some time with me today. For you little ones or for your parents of little ones, write your stories, maybe send them to me. But we've got some extra time now. Obviously, everybody has some extra time. Take some time now, take a journal out, take a blank notebook, take a blank piece of paper, take a few minutes to write your stories and go ahead and share them for me. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody.